because of those striped legs, it leads a lot of people to believe that they're related to zebras, when actually their closest relative is going to be a giraffe. And we can tell that by looking at their facial structure as well as the shape of their ears. They do also have a long prehensile tongue, just like the giraffe does. And the okapi's tongue is actually long enough that if they really truly wanted to, they could lick their eyes or their ears. Now that black and white striping will help them camouflage in the forest. You might notice there are a lot of trees out here. When the sun is shining through them, it shines through in some weird patterns. Sunshine is reflected in their white stripe, and the shaded, shadowy part of the forest is reflected in that black stripe. Up on the hill on the right side, there are two black and white birds. Those are the saddle-billed stork. Saddle-billed stork are going to stand up to 5 feet tall, and they have a wingspan of 9 feet wide. We can actually tell the difference between male and female by looking at eye color. Females have yellow eyes, whereas the males will have a brown eye. On the left, we're going to see a black rhino hanging out over there. Now, black rhinos, they're going to weigh around 3,000 pounds, and they can charge up to speeds of 35 miles per hour. They do have a prehensile pointed upper lip, and that allows them to pluck leaves off of the branches around them. And they are very solitary animals. We really aren't going to see those black rhinos hanging out with other animals, or truly really any other black rhinos. They just enjoy having their alone time. Two different animals hanging out on this left side. At the very top of the hill, the copper colored animal is a bongo. And the tan colored animal pretty close to us over there, that's going to be the greater kudu. Now those bongos, both the male and female bongo will have horns. You might have noticed they are kind of leaned back. That allows them to move swiftly through the thick brush of the forest. They usually don't get tangled in those branches around them. Now those greater kudu, they will be one of the tallest antelopes in Africa. They stand 55 inches tall at the shoulder. They'll also weigh around 750 pounds. Now my friends, we made our way out to Safi River, and I do see two animals already. I'm going to talk about that white and gray bird with the long beak. That is the pink-backed pelican. Now they get their name because during mating season, they have a pink spot that shows up on their back. It's almost like they're blushing. Now that pink spot of theirs, it's not actually their feathers that are turning pink, but it's going to be the skin underneath their feathers. Now there is a hippo out on the surface on the right side, but there's one on the left. It's showing us how they actually will typically spend their day, fully submerged in water. Now it is a little bit of a cooler morning, so it's not too shocking to see that hippo up and about. Typically they're going to be doing what this hippo on the left is doing, staying in that water because it's how it keeps them cool. Now they don't actually swim in the water to get around. There's one moving over here, all the way underneath. It's because they sink all the way down to the bottom so they can run or walk across the floor. Now they do have the ability to do this because hippos can actually hold their breath for up to 8 minutes while they are fully submerged in the water. Which is why it's pretty hard to see them when they're all the way underneath. Next animal on the left side is going to be the Nile crocodile. Now on average, these crocodiles are going to be around 16 feet in length, and typically they'll weigh close to 500 pounds. Although we have seen times where they have gotten up to 20 feet in length and weighed 2,000 pounds. Now it's not super common for them to get that large, but it is something that can happen. Now their normal diet mainly is going to consist of fish. However, they are opportunistic predators, so that does mean that they will eat whatever is unfortunate enough to walk right in front of them. And they can do so because their weight is 2,000 pounds per square inch. It's going to crush nearly anything and everything that they come into contact with, and that includes bone. So we don't like to mess around with those guys. Now we are leaving that forest behind us, and now we're heading out to the savannah. The savannah is going to have a very different landscape, and the landscape is going to help tell us what animals we might get to see today. Elephants tend to bulldoze down the trees just so they can reach the leaves at the top. The trees we are going to see, will notice the leaves are 18 to 20 feet off of the ground. It's because giraffes like to prune the underneath of them. Smaller animals like the antelope and cattle, they'll eat the grass, keeping it nice and short. I do see some gray animals hanging out over there on the right. They're kind of in the foliage. They're a little bit harder to see. Those are going to be wildebeest. Wildebeest will live in densely packed herds, and those herds will be anywhere from 10 to 1,000 of them. Once a year, 1.5 million wildebeest are going to come together to migrate distances of 500 to 1,000 miles. Something that's really cool about that wildebeest migration is that we can track it from outer space. That's how many of them are moving all together at the same time. Now on the left, there's some roaming around, there's some hanging out in the den, but these are painted dogs. Now painted dogs are going to live in packs of 5 to 15 of them, typically with one alpha male and one alpha female, who will be the primary breeders for the group. These dogs are going to be one of the most successful predators in Africa, and it's because they work together as a team to chase down their prey until it falls over from exhaustion. So yeah, they're really cute, but they're not very cuddly. Next animals on the left side, these are going to be sable antelope. Sable antelope will live 17 to 18 years out in the wild, and they are super territorial. In the instance of choosing between fight or flight, they're going to choose to fight. And if they do find themselves in a sparring match, they'll lay down on their front two legs to show off those horns to the other animal. Other animal's going to realize how sharp and leaned back those horns are, and they really won't want to mess with them. Now we're going to see some animals walking down from this hill on the left. These will be elands. Now both the male and female eland will have horns, but the females are a lot skinnier and a lot more spiraled. Their bodies are very large, but they're mainly made up of muscle. Because of this, they can leap up to 8 feet in the air just from a standing position. Now on the right side, we saw them already. We're a lot closer now. Those are going to be the Ankole cattle, also known as Watusi cattle after the people who first domesticated them. Those horns of theirs will grow to around 3 to 4 feet in length each, and although they look like they're very heavy, they're actually pretty lightweight. Those horns will be made up of a honeycomb-like structure on the inside, and blood will circulate and flow through them, and that's going to help keep them cool. There they are. If you put your hand over your eyes, you can see them a little bit better, but there are 2 zebras over there. Those are the Hartman's Mountain zebras. I do see the Maasai giraffe. We'll talk about them in a moment. I want to talk about these zebras first. Now, a typical herd of zebra is going to consist of 1 stallion and 2 to 5 females and their calves, but they're very social and friendly, so if they do run into another herd, they're all just going to join together. And that herd of zebra will be called a dazzle. It's one of my favorite group names. Now, I just spotted another animal that I want to talk about before the giraffes. That little tiny guy over there on the right side, that little cinnamon colored animal, that's going to be a springbok. Now, springboks are tiny, but they are mighty. They stand 2.5 to 3 feet tall, and when frightened, they will spring up to 6 feet in the air repeatedly. They will be one of the fastest antelopes, running speeds of 50 to 60 miles per hour. And while they're running or walking, they can spring 13 feet forward through the air. And that springing motion that they make is called pronking. It's very precious. Now those Maasai giraffes, they're going to have very jagged spots. And each spotting pattern is going to be unique to each one of them. Kind of like our fingerprints are. Now they are going to spend around 16 to 20 hours out of their day eating. Their tongues are this bluish gray color, and they have a thick mucus coating them, and that'll act as a sunscreen to help protect their tongue since they spend most of their day eating. Because that's how they spend most of their day, they're really not sleeping a whole lot, only for about 30 minutes, and it's not consecutive. We'll see these giraffe taking 2 to 3 minute naps here and there. And typically while they're napping, they're going to be standing up. It's not too often we see them laying down. Puts them in too much of a vulnerable position. Now on that right side, I do see some African elephants, but I also see a mandrill walking around over here on the left. It's going to be a little hard to see because that bush is in the way. Let's try to move up a little bit. Now, mandrills will be the largest monkey in the world, and we do know that they're monkeys and not apes. It's because they have tails. Apes aren't going to have tails. Male mandrill typically are going to weigh around 100 pounds, and females only around 30 to 40. They're quite a lot smaller. They're also known for that blue and red coloring on their face, and when that male gets more excited, those colors will become even more exaggerated. They are one of the monkeys that Rafiki is based off of. Now those elephants, I have a pretty good feeling we'll see some more up ahead, but let's keep an eye out. Now elephants are going to live in a matriarchal society, so most herds that we see are going to be females and their calves. When male elephants reach around 10 to 14 years old, they'll go off on their own. They are some pretty solitary animals, but we will sometimes see them forming bachelor groups. Now they're not too loyal to these groups. If they're just not feeling it anymore, they're going to go back off on their own again, and they're completely fine with that. They don't need to be in a herd to be happy. I do love elephants. They are another one of my favorite animals. I like to tell a little story about how the Disney Conservation Fund and other organizations are trying to help protect them. So through research with these elephants, we have learned that they are afraid of bees. Now it's not the bee sting that they're afraid of, it's actually the sound. Elephants have amazing hearing. So if they are hearing bees within the area, they are going to let out a low call to all of the other elephants saying, stay away, do not come near, there are some bees right over here. Now with this knowledge, we have helped farmers in Africa build beehives on their fences. This is going to help protect the farmers' crops because elephants won't come walking over there anymore thinking they see an all-you-can-eat buffet. They're leaving that land alone because, well, they're just not going to be nearby. Now not only is it protecting the farmers' land, but it's also helping to protect these elephants. Elephants are poached for their tusks that are made of ivory. So truly, we don't want to see them around too many people. Those people could spread the whereabouts of these elephants and the wrong people could overhear it. And it could put the elephant in danger. So these beehives, they are keeping the people where the people need to be and those elephants right where they need to be, which is very far apart from one another. Now those farmers, they will also get another source of income from these beehives because they get to sell the honey. So overall, it's just a big win-win for the farmers and the elephants. Now it looks like we are approaching a flamboyance. It's what we call a group of flamingos. And these flamingos are going to be the greater flamingo. When they hatch, they are going to be a soft gray color. And it takes about 2 to 3 years of them eating their diet of brine shrimp, which is high in beta carotene, for them to get to their pinkest pink color. Now these flamingos, they will be the lightest pink flamingo of the flamingo species, and also the largest flamingo of the flamingo species.
Hi, flamingo. Those are flamingos. Yeah, you have a picture with them, Loretta.
I think I see some white rhinos over here. Yeah, they're hanging out close to their mud wallow. And white rhinos do like to roll around in mud and coat their skin in it because it'll act as a sunscreen for them as well as an insect repellent. And typically, we're going to see them rolling around in these mud wallows all together or in groups or pairs because they're very social, unlike that black rhino. White rhinos are going to be very social with one another. Now, they are also larger than the black rhino. They do weigh anywhere between 4,000 and 5,000 pounds. But the biggest difference between the two will be their mouth shape. White rhinos get their name from the Afrikaans word "wit," which means wide and not white. This is referring to their broad, square mouth, whereas that black rhino had that pointed upper lip. Now, I think I see some cheetahs hanging out over here on the left. Once again, if you're in that weird sunspot, if you put your hand over your eyes, that's really going to help you. Now, cheetahs are going to be fast animals. They can go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 3 seconds. It's going to last them a few hundred yards. You can definitely say they're sprinters, not exactly marathon runners. And they are also, unlike a lot of other predators in Africa, in the sense that they are daytime hunters. These cheetah have a black stripe on their face that starts near their tear duct, and it goes all the way down to their mouth. And that black stripe will actually help to reflect the sun for them. Kind of like a built-in pair of sunglasses, or if you watch football or baseball, it's like the eye black players wear. It's all going to do the same thing. It'll just reduce the glare of the sun, which is really going to help those cheetah while they hunt.
We're not out today. The last time we did really.
King's not out today. Usually on that perch.
Yeah. That's the lion's territory, but he doesn't want to come up.
He's tired.
Yeah. He's shy.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a whole lot more animals over here. Oh, I do see one up ahead. It'll be on the right side. We're going to see this brown animal, and they kind of have a white circle on their back side. Kind of hiding behind that tree stump that's fallen over. And there's another one kind of down that hill. Those are water buck. Now, water buck will be very sedentary animals. They don't migrate over great distances. Instead, they just like to build their home near watering holes. Now, if a predator were to approach them, the kind of number one way that they'll defend themselves is just by jumping in the water and hanging out there until that predator leaves. They will also drink the most water out of any other antelope, and for both of those reasons, they get their name, the water buck. Now, folks, we are making our way over to Magadi Glen. This is going to be home to the Warden's Post. I want you guys to think all the way back to that story I told you about elephants and bees. The Warden's building a beehive right out front. It's going to be this large yellow structure that we'll see. I do also think the Warden might have the most adorable livestock. These are the Nigerian dwarf goats. Now, although these goats are small, most of them are going to be adults. They do make great livestock for the farmer because of their size. They really aren't taking up a whole lot of space, but also because they are going to eat a lot of things other livestock won't and won't be able to. This is because they are ruminants. That means their stomach has 4 separate
All right, say
compartments in it.
bye-bye.
It's really going to help with their digestion, and it's also kind of what gives them their pot belly like shape.